Introduction to Japanese Canadians. Japanese Canadians were a significant immigrant group in Canada, contributing to the nation's cultural and economic landscape. However, during World War II, they faced discrimination and forced internment due to their ancestry. This narrative aims to delve into the dark chapter of Canadian history known as the forced internment of Japanese Canadians during World War II, examining the causes, consequences, and lasting impact of this unjust treatment. Immigration to Canada. Japanese immigrants began arriving in Canada in the late 19th century, seeking opportunities in industries such as fishing, farming, and forestry. Contributions to society. Japanese Canadians made significant contributions to Canadian society, establishing businesses, participating in cultural exchanges, and enriching the nation's cultural diversity. Growing tensions. As tensions escalated between Canada and Japan during World War II, Japanese Canadians became targets of suspicion and prejudice, viewed as potential security threats due to their ancestry. Enactment of war measures. Declaration of war. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941, Canada declared war on Japan, leading to widespread fear and paranoia about the loyalty of Japanese Canadians. War Measures Act. In February 1942, the Canadian government invoked the War Measures Act, granting sweeping powers to detain and intern individuals deemed a threat to national security, including Japanese Canadians. Mass internment orders. Under the War Measures Act, Japanese Canadians, regardless of citizenship status, were subjected to mass internment and forced relocation from the West Coast to inland internment camps. Forced relocation and internment. Evacuation orders. Japanese Canadians living in designated protected areas along the West Coast were given mere days to prepare for evacuation, forced to leave behind their homes, businesses, and possessions. Conditions in internment camps. Interned Japanese Canadians were subjected to harsh living conditions in crowded and poorly equipped camps, facing inadequate housing, meager rations, and limited access to health care. Loss of property and livelihoods. The forced internment resulted in the confiscation of Japanese Canadian property and assets, leaving many families destitute and deprived of their livelihoods. Resistance and resilience. Acts of defiance. Despite the injustice of their situation, some Japanese Canadians resisted internment through acts of civil disobedience, protests, and legal challenges aimed at securing their rights and freedoms. Cultural preservation. Despite the adversity they faced, Japanese Canadians in internment camps maintained their cultural identity and traditions, forming communities and supporting each other through shared experiences. Service in the armed forces. Despite their mistreatment, some Japanese Canadians volunteered to serve in the Canadian Armed Forces, demonstrating their loyalty and commitment to their adopted country. Post-war reconciliation and redress. End of internment. With the end of World War II in 1945, Japanese Canadians were gradually released from internment camps and allowed to return to their former communities. Long road to justice. It wasn't until decades later, in the 1980s and 1990s, that the Canadian government formally acknowledged and apologized for the internment of Japanese Canadians, recognizing it as a grave injustice. Redress and compensation. In 1988, the Canadian government issued a formal apology to Japanese Canadians affected by internment and provided financial compensation to surviving victims and their families. Legacy and lessons learned. Impact on Japanese Canadian community. The forced internment of Japanese Canadians had a profound and lasting impact on the community, resulting in intergenerational trauma and loss of trust in government institutions. Lessons of tolerance and equality. The internment experience serves as a reminder of the dangers of prejudice and discrimination, highlighting the importance of upholding principles of tolerance, equality, and human rights. Subscribe for more untold stories. Subscribe to our channel for additional episodes uncovering hidden narratives of injustice and resilience from World War II and beyond. Join us as we explore untold stories that shed light on the complexities of human history and the quest for justice and reconciliation.